my experience, and I don't want to get too specific and too personal, but I think that there's a great tendency in the construction industry to give people a sort of a general price. Say, it's going to cost you about this, without really being specific about the client's
what it is they're doing.
what the client
Correct.
wants. And because as a culture, we trying to cut costs, and we listen to people say, well, you don't need that particular professional, they just go take your money, and you don't need this professional, they go take your money. You end up dealing with less people than you need to speak to. And when it comes down to executing a particular part of your project, now you end up with a problem, because now you're doing your master bedroom, and when you wanted to talk to the interior designer, they say, nah, and just go take your money, and now you want to put your bed in a particular spot, and it can't happen because your builder, who was acting as the interior designer but you didn't know, decided to go across there, and that is not what you wanted, and there's nothing, there's no electricity where you wanted to go. There's no space where you wanted to go. There's no nothing view, whatever you wanted in place, nothing is there. And then when you want to put it in place, now you can, but it's going to cost you money. All right, they give you a costing to do XYZ, and now they tell you, well, go and pick your tiles. And then they might go with the budget, but then what you want is not in the budget. So that's only, but the budget they gave you might have been a reasonable budget anyway, which they knew, and they knew you were going to cross it. So when we're talking about the creation of disputes, and when we're talking about breaches in agreement and cost overruns and all that, you mentioned 30% and so on, sometimes 50%. I have come to the conclusion that it's built into the issue, that is kind of built in, and we just to realize it, because I'm saying that because I do think that, as I said, for example, with the budget, the customer didn't always understand what was in budgeting for that particular thing. So it's automatic that it's going to be a cost overrun that they didn't expect when they start to really figure out what they want.
Correct. And that's why it's important actually to have
these kinds of discussions, so that you can get information before you start.
Before you start, right? If someone acquires a home that was built over 50 years ago, is it possible to get a completion certificate? If yes, explain how. I believe
if the house was unfinished and they're now going to build to that exact thing, but nothing modern.
Correct. So you'll have to get, well, completion certificate, scope creep is a big source of conflict. Yes, Karen, Miss Joseph, yes, that is so true. Scope creep is, and again, that's project management. Project management is one of those, change management is one of those pieces in project management. Changes is, okay, I want the wall to now come 10 feet this way instead. Okay, no problem, Mr. Sir or Madam Miss. That is going to, let us do the cost implications of that before moving forward. Not, go fix that, man, we go fix that. And then at the end, they give the client a bill back. Well, remember, you say you want that. So there are processes and procedures, especially with project management involved, that alleviate scope creep, or what is the scope enlarging unbeknownst or while the scope enlarging, they're not thinking that the price stay the same, But going back to the question about if you built your, the idea is that the house built 50 years ago didn't receive, I can only assume that it didn't receive completion certificate because either it wasn't applied for or the house wasn't finished. And so it's important to, I see Ms. Daniel in the audience there. Yes is a contractor's favorite word. but yeah, so the 50 years ago property, you can get completion certificate for it, but it has to be completed within the building drawings that was there. So let's say you have the drawings of 50 years ago and you complete that, no problem. If you modernize the house in any way, you have to go back to square one, right? So that's a
And
misconception.
most likely you can't live in the house if you do it the way it was 50 years ago. So you probably have to automatically, because
Maybe
because
one bathroom
the
outside.
electricity coming to the building wouldn't be
Correct,
enough for your
correct,
appliances now and all that
correct.
kind of thing like that. So you'd have to change it.
But it's important, and it's important to get a, like, you could get a starter. You could actually get a status. You could get a status from town country. You could get a status from the corporation, and you could get a status from an engineer or a contractor of where you are and what needs to be done to bring it up to code. So that's also something that you could look into. I have a question here from Miss Susan Johnson Pre. Can you construct a house on land given as deed of gift? And can your house plan be changed after you have given a go ahead by the Ministry of Planning and Regional Corporation? Right. Well, can you construct your house on land given as a deed of gift?
Yes.
Yes, the short answer is yes, but then given is what I have any issue with. The word given, because what do you mean by the word given? And we
It's
have
the registered deed.
is it correct? Do you have registered title? Not mommy say or uncle say they're going to give it to me. So I'm going to bill one time because just paperwork. That is where you could get yourself in some trouble. But if it is a bona fide title document with your name on it, go ahead and feel free. But again, it will depend on where and what is the land use. So don't say you're going to build a house and it's already and it's on an acre plot, and you get out in your acre the excise 5,000 square feet out of the acre and say you could build there, and then you build and it's not in town, or you try to build and town and country shut you down because it is a homestead situation where at minimum it's supposed to be 1 acre per building unit. Right, Pierre?
Correct.
Right?
Right.
So that's very, very important. And kind of talk a little bit more about that. In terms of why is it important to know what kind of land you have?
Well, your status is important. So you don't want to go building a 3-story house where you only approve for 2-story, right? And persons take liberties with these things, and you could just find yourself in a major lawsuit. In addition to your cost overruns, right? You find yourself in a lawsuit with your neighbor or the corporation, as we mentioned before. So
Correct.
Trinidadians like to take liberties, and some persons, they have cash and they want to use it on real estate. They understand real estate is the way to go, so they spend and they spend on it. But you really need to follow the guidelines. It's a protection for you. This is a protection for you at the end of the day.
I have. So now, guys, I'm gonna try to speed through some of these questions because we're having fun, and I realize we have 2 minutes, right? Can you construct, right? So the other part of the question, Suzanne, yes, you can change it. However, it will not be approved. So if there's a change process within regional corporation that you will have to go through. Again, if you come in, we could help with that on the consultation, right? What additional considerations are needed when constructing on a piece of land? We kind of spoke about that. Building structure on squatting land. I don't know what the question is there. Are there grants
Yes,
of any kind? Go ahead.
I'm seeing one from Reginald Panton. Is it possible to get approvals for completed residential construction, which approvals hadn't previously applied. And yes, you now have to get somebody to draw it as it's been built.
Correct.
And
Correct.
you know, create the plans for it. So you're kind of reversing the process. You start off with a plan normally, and you get a completed building. And in your case, you have a completed building, and now you draw the plans, and they can approve it. There might be one or two things they might tell you, well, move this from here. You know, you may have one or two things to move, but it should not. They will try, you know, as far as possible, so you wouldn't have to spend too much deconstructing and reconstructing to get into the schemes, the legal schemes that are approved and so on.